Hi. Hi, I'm Keiko. Today I'd like to talk about what I run during my daily job and what's wrong with your app. So let me introduce myself. I'm Keiko. I work for Heroku. I've joined Heroku last year, April, so I've been working for them about 1.5 years. I'm doing technical support engineer, which is you guys ask me question about Heroku and I answer it. I currently live in San Francisco, and I'm from Kanazawa, Ishikawa-ken. And I moved to San Francisco 1.5 months ago, so I'm still new to San Francisco. I'm going to give a talk in English, but I'm Japanese. 私は日本人です。で、もしちょっと一番恐怖なのは日本語で話さないんで、なんか日本人の人も何言ってるかよくわかんないし、外国人の人もなんか私の英語よくわかんないしってなったらすごく困るので、誰も何言ってるかわかんないよって状態になるので、日本人の方でも外国人の方でももし何言ってるかわかんなかったらいつでも止めてください。Advertisement. So, Heroku, we are the Bento sponsor. Last year we did Bento sponsor, and this year we are doing Bento sponsor again. So tomorrow, RubyKaigi Day 2 will be our Bento sponsor. Also, we published first Japanese Heroku book. You can get in Junkudo RubyKaigi. So it's written in Japanese, so maybe English speaker doesn't care about that. RubyKaigi 中はJunkudo RubyKaigi 支店にてお買い求めいただけますので、ぜひお買い求めください。あと、この後私のトークが終わってからサイン会もやるらしいので、サインの練習してないですけれど、ぜひ来てください。Okay, so let me introduce my coworkers. We have so many Heroku coming for this RubyKaigi. If you guys see one of us, please say hi to us and ask any question about Heroku or just ask any random questions. And so for Japanese people, it will be very good experience, like good chance to talk in English. It's really good chance to practice your English. So please say hi. This is Matt's team. So Matt is Papa of Ruby, and he is also pro keynote speaker. He does keynote a lot, and he will give a keynote tomorrow as well. And Koichi gave a keynote this morning. He's been doing keynote lately, and he's been asking a question about keynote to Matt. So he is. I asked Nob to pick up some nice name for Koichi, and he picked up Burning Bytecode VM Master. I don't know what that means. Maybe some of them, some of you guys know. So Koichi is 燃えるバイトコード VM マスターらしいです。はい。So Nobu, you guys know Nobu? Nobu is patch monster. He make a patch, and 30% of Ruby commits are made by him. Wow. So they are my team in Heroku, and their main job is to keep Ruby awesome, like develop a Ruby interpreter, and make a ton of patch like Nob. So next, Richard. Richard is a Ruby language team in Heroku. While my team focuses on making Ruby awesome, Richard, they are doing focus on improving Ruby experience on Heroku. So he will give a talk tomorrow as well. So if you guys are interested, please go to his talk. And I think Ayumu, everyone knows Ayumu, maybe? Thank you. So Ayumu, his title in Heroku is Tom, technical account manager, but he does everything about Heroku in Japan. He does sales, he does Tom, he does developer marketing, he does everything. Also, he's taking care of Matt's team. So Heroku Japan team is Matt's team no 保護者. Like, Matt's team is 扶養家族 of Ayumu. And Andy is also doing TAM, as same as Ayumu. TAM, technical account manager, is like a consultant of Heroku. So if you have, like, if you want to deploy an application on Heroku, and if you, like, if you want to know the best practice, things like that, you can ask TAM. So if you have any question, you can ask Andy or Ayumu. So there's Kyle, Ryan, Brett. Kyle, he is working for support engineering, and he's been working for Heroku for 4 years. So today we have 10 Heroku employees in this RubyKaigi, but he's been working the longest in our team. And he is also the author of Reac timeout gem, which we usually recommend to the customer to use it. I'll mention about Reac timeout gem later as well. So Ryan is doing core support. I am also core support team. So Ryan is also taking care of handling ticket. Ryan is also the papa of 3 cute daughters. He lives in Colorado Springs. And Brett. So Brett doing embedded support in Heroku for database. So if you raise a ticket about database, we pass to Buchan. Yeah, Brett used to live in Japan for a couple of years, so he can speak pretty good Japanese. So you guys should talk to him in both English and Japanese. So that's it. Yep. So after this talk, we have a 30 minutes coffee break. So please find us. I can see Ryan there. I can see Ayumu here. Yeah. So please say hi to them. Okay, now let's talk about your app. So I'm not sure how many people are familiar with that screen, but that screen is a search result of Zendesk. So we now use Zendesk, currently use Zendesk as our support tool. And I just searched with my app is down, and there are like more than 200 results. So people are raising tickets saying my app is down. Yeah. So it's really common to be down. So sometimes your app can be down. So sometimes it's because of our problem. I admit that, but most of the time it's because your app is doing something wrong. Let's use Heroku request timeout error as an example and see what could cause my app is down. So Heroku has an error called H12, and H12 means request timeout error. So may I ask how many of people using Heroku right now? Arigato. So how many in this, how many people have seen H12 error? Can you please? Oh. Yeah. So when I was doing job interview for Heroku, my manager keep saying H12, 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 and I had no idea what H12 is. But now I know like H12 is like request timeout error, and this is the most common thing customer asks. So H12 error It's Heroku request timeout error code, and if your app takes more than 30 seconds to make a response, Heroku will raise the error at the Heroku router level, and your user, your customer, will see the application error page on their end. So that is, sometimes your application takes more than 30 seconds to handle a request or something, and you will see H12 error. So let's take a look, top 3 H12 error codes, and see what you can do for that. H12 error is indeed Heroku-specific error, but I think even though your app is on Amazon, or even though your app is on other PaaS platform, you can also apply this method, what I'm going to talk from now on, and make sure to prevent the issue from happening. So, the cause number 1, the most common cause of H12 is slow request. If you have so let's think about the 1 queue. If this top request takes 30 seconds to handle, the following request need to wait 30 seconds to be handled. So it's really bad that if you have a slow request, because all following requests need to wait. Sorry. Yeah, so let's say if you have a request that's fetch a lot of data from your database, and query is pretty terrible and takes more than 30 seconds to run. And if you have the request that just getting favicon from your application right after this 30-second request, this request also needs to wait 30 seconds to be handled. So this getting favicon request is such an easy request, but it can also raise the H12 error. If you see H12 error, I recommend you go to the new work or logging tool to see what the root cause is. And in the meantime, you also, if you see H12 error on Heroku, you want to try restarting your application, because if you are seeing H12 continuously, which means you have a lot of request queue in your dyno. So you want to clean up that request so that dyno can start handling the request with really clean state. Yeah, also, the root cause of slow request can vary. Maybe you have a bad code, or maybe external service, such as if you are calling some API, and API is down, and your app just keep waiting, hearing back from API, your app can be H12. Also, as I said previously, if your database query is really slow, I explained, I showed one example that query itself takes 30 seconds, but it can be query takes only not only, but 1 second, and you have 100 of database query that takes 1 second in one request. It can be take 100 seconds. So that will be also the really bad problem. Yep. So the next cause would be traffic spike. So here is an example, but if you see this kind of spike, your dyno or your instance can't handle your request with timely manner. So you want to add more resources to handle the request properly. Yeah, so when you had a high traffic like this, you can check in the new Reac, or we have new Heroku dashboard which has a throughput graph on it. You can check about that also. And if you see the increase for both throughput and CPU load, you want to increase the number of dyno because that means your app you don't have enough resource to handle the request. And in that case, so Heroku is really easy to scale up. Like you can just run Heroku PS scale web equal 100 to run 100 of dyno. But I really want to warn you that you can't just increase the number of dyno to handle the request. Because let's say if you have the web application and you have database, and your database may not be enough to having 100 of dyno. So actually a few days ago, I got a ticket about like, oh, we had this request spike and our application keep down what we can do. And I took a look their log, their new Reac, and I found that database part is taking really long time. And the reason that database part is taking really long time is because they had about 80 dynos, 80 instances, and each instance has 4 unicorn workers, which means they have up to 280 database connections at the maximum time, but the database that they had is really small that it can never handle that much request. So the database part was the bottleneck, and even though you increase the number of dyno, they wouldn't see the improvement of performance because of database. So I really encourage you to do load tests to make sure your app can handle a lot of requests before you launch the product. That is really something I want to talk in this. I want to tell you in this talk. So next cause, memory could exceed. Heroku, by default, you can run the dyno on 515 megabyte memory. And I've seen the customer was exceeding the memory quota, and this is bad because the if app is using more memory that app can use, app start using the swap space, and it's really slows down your application. So you want to really keep an eye on your memory usage. And if your app becomes slow, like I talked in here, I talked just you have bad code or external service problem or database problem. But even though your app is doing fine, if you don't have enough memory to handle the request, your app can be H12 as well. H12, if you see this memory quota exceed error is seen as R14 error on Heroku. And if you see this R14 error on Heroku, I really recommend you restart the application as soon as possible. Because usually you don't really exceed the memory from the beginning when you boot the application. So it's like either you will start your memory usage increase a little bit and exceed, or as I explained here, could be memory leak is causing this. So restarting would be really like nice temporary solution for this kind of error. I also want to mention that after the Ruby 2.1 release, we started seeing a lot of tickets mentioning about R14 error. This is because Ruby 2.1 tend to use more memory than all the version in exchange for the speed. So Ruby 2.1 get really fast, but use more memory. And it's really affect for the customer like Heroku. So you mean, if you are seeing the R14 error on Heroku after you move your Ruby version from 2.0 to 2.1, you may want to consider reducing your Unicorn number if you are using Unicorn, or like Puma thread number or process number. As well as Heroku has a more upper instance plan, such as Double Dino or PX Dino. Also, any other platform has an upper plan, should be. So you can use the upper plan for that. For troubleshooting memory leak, it's really important to have some monitoring tool to see your memory usage. Reac, I've been talking about Reac, but Reac is also good tool to take a look. And we also have Heroku log feature to output memory usage per each dyno in the log. So maybe you wanna start doing if you are seeing memory issue. Also, we recently released new dashboard which has the metrics of memory usage. You can also use that for the debugging. So I've explained the 3 common causes of why your app is having problems. Now let's talk about what you should start doing right now. Sorry. So I've seen many tickets that's talking about H12 or performance issue, and I really, really wish every one of them have things that I will talk about from now on. So if your app doesn't have one of them from what I'm talking about from now on, please consider to including that. So it's really basic, but do you have logging for your application? Logging is really important, and log tells you a lot. And I will literally freak out if the customer doesn't have logging add-on and they're just asking me why my app was down like a day ago. I can't really track the log a day ago. Heroku only stores 1,500 lines of log, and it's like streaming. So if there's 1,501 lines of log, the first one will be erased. So you can just fit up to 1,500 lines of log. So it's really important to store your log to another place. In Heroku, you can use the logging add-on to manage your log. It's really easy. You don't need to make a change for your code. You can just add logging add-on. And this logging add-on is not only for Heroku. The service that log entries, they provide that service not only for Heroku, but for any other platform. If you are running application, you definitely want to save the log so that you can check out log if you see anything strange. So next thing is monitoring. Monitoring is really important. And I've been talking about Reac, but Reac is a good tool to start with. I actually, to be honest, I don't think Reac is the perfect tool to debug your application issue, but it's really good to start with. If you see the issue, you can just go to the Reac and see if there is any issue. So please take a look at these 2 graphs. You can see that something spiked for both of them. So the left-hand side, that green part spiked, and the green part is for web external call, which means maybe you have some API call in your application, and so API call is hanging or something, or the API call is delayed because of the third party, you can see spike, and it really impacts your application. And maybe your application can be down because of that. For the right side, you can see the spike for database. So this is really typical thing to see when you have H12. And so database part is spiking because of many, like you can't really explain, but because of many reasons. In your Reac, there is a program which you can see the, you can see, sorry. Transaction trace, yeah, transaction trace. So you can see the transaction that took really long time. Like let's say this transaction took 15 seconds to handle. And you can see the detail, how much time take to do first step, and how long does it take to do this one database query, and this one database query took like 10 seconds, which is really problematic. You can see something like that. So maybe you want to have a numeric program to see this kind of thing. Okay. Also, availability monitoring, error monitoring is really important. You can do that with some add-on, or pingdom is not really add-on, but you can also do that. This is not only for Heroku application. You can do that for your application, which is on Amazon or any other path. I mentioned about the database slowness, but Heroku Postgres provide a nice tool to analyze what kind of query is slow. So expensive queries, you can check it out. It's really useful, but I don't know much about that, so you can ask Buchan about this. I've mentioned several times, but we now released new dashboard, and you can see a very nice graph. That's like the top one is response time. So you can see the right part is kind of spiking, and the second one is request throughput. So also you can also see the spike over there. And the top part is H18 error and H12 error. You can see more memory usage or CPU load under there. So what's next? Choosing the right server is also important to run your app well. The app can be really bad. It depends on the server. And the server that can handle requests concurrently is really important. If you are using something like Thin or Rubric for your production application, or even for your test dev application, you really want to consider switching that to the Unicorn, Puma, or Passenger. Here's one example for how server affects your application. This is from bugs.rubylang.org. But they used to be using Thin, and you can see huge spike over there. It's almost taking 80 seconds to handle the request because of the queue. And as soon as they change Passenger, the queue is gone. So it's really important to choose the right server. Like Unicorn, Puma, they are different, and they have both pros and cons. So you want to learn which server is good for you. Almost done. Sorry. The last thing I want to mention is you really want to have proper timeout for your application. Unicorn, you can set the timeout for Unicorn. Our recommendation is 15 seconds. It's not only for Heroku application, it's for every application. And this is prevent long-running requests from causing a cascading request queuing build-up, like this. This is the thing, but you can see the similar, actually you can see the similar graph for if you are using Unicorn and you don't have proper timeout setting, you can also see this kind of graph. So it's really important to have the proper timeout setting. And Reac timeout gem. So Kyle created this gem, and you can ping him that he hasn't released Reac timeout new version for a year, so you can ping him. I really want to ping him. Please tell him to release it. So you want to have a Reac timeout setting at least 5 seconds earlier than Unicorn timeout setting. When the request was killed by Unicorn, you don't really have the information why this request was taking time. I mentioned that Heroku has a nice tool to analyze how long the request is taking for each step. But if the request is killed by Unicorn, you can't take a look at that one as well. So you really want to have Reac timeout so that let timeout to rate the error so that you can tell if error is raised within the database part, maybe database query is taking time, and also if Reac timeout error is raised within the connection to making a connection to Redis server, maybe you have a connectivity issue between Redis server and your application. And so Reac timeout also gives you the idea which part is taking time. So addressing the long-running action and optimize your request, optimize the response time under 500 milliseconds is really recommended. So we have more and more tips. Like I've been working for Heroku in 1.5 years, and I have so many things that I want to tell the customer so that they don't need to open the ticket and ask us. So, 日本語で OK, Ruby なら任せて. So there are many, Heroku people here, so please say hi to them. Thank you for listening.